Hello everyone, we're back with the Classic Hunter series for one last time before the Burning Crusade comes out. Again. This is going to be a long episode. We're headed to Naxx today and checking out just a little bit more DMT first. I never quite did cover a proper practice run now that I'm so accustomed to the farm, did I? Well, we'll sort that right now. Let's get into this. Enjoy! Of course, the other reason to showcase a DMT run in a Naxx themed episode, the reason it's relevant to such an episode, is that farming gold is quite essential for Naxx. There are plenty of bosses in the 15 boss raid that Naxx is that are rather simple enough, but there are others that are taxing, to say the least. So we'll move past that mage with a frost reflector on the frostbolt. No slowing down here today. And we'll move on into the next pack. The mages are casting on me, so I'll quickly loase them around the corner. I did swap to my shadow reflector there, so I did not forget later. And we're going to run straight up to that key and grab it. No reason to feign death just yet. We are 40 yards away from the last pack, so it would be safe if we need to. But we want to spend our feign death here. There's one on the left, concussive, scatter, grenade, jump up to the evade spot, and feign death. It worked, so we will continue on. And for those of you who are unfamiliar, the quote-unquote safe speedrun strategies that I'm referring to are all meant to keep me either 40 yards away from everything when I feign death, or put me in an evade spot where it does not matter if I get a resist, like in the scenario we just described. We're going to do a 3-pack pull right here, Furious Howl, and walk on past. The pet was crippled, I think, but that should not be a problem. The second pack will be reflected upon. So we'll wing clip the Reaver, we'll wing clip the Warlock, and we'll wing clip the Doomguard, because sometimes he resists his own cripple after it's reflected, and I want to make sure that he's slowed down. The Doomguard may stop and cast Rain of Fire on the pet, but I must hit the Reaver there with the concussive shot, which I did, so he's definitely not caught up to me. The Eye of Kilrog is moving up there, and we're gonna wait another 10 seconds or so before we go and do this pull, because feign death timing and all that. Slipkick is moving behind the ramp, so I'll go right now. We'll pull these Reavers, Furious Howl, send the pet back to the safe spot, and also send it to the Warlock at the far end of the room. That will despawn the pet, and the Eye of Kilrog is coming, but we can ignore that. We can walk right on past it with our invisibility potion. It does see us, but it is not near any enemies, so no other enemies will proxy pull onto me. It simply despawns after summoning its eyes, and the blueberries that it summons are not aggroed onto me like the eye was. The pet is alive and well, so we'll continue on with the final pull up to the king. After laying a frost trap here, I'm going to eat and drink just a moment, while my pet dashes up here. He's got aggro on the Reavers, so we'll, again, Furious Howl and run past. Use a C4 on the door. The pack on the side did not pull, but even if it did, that does not matter. It is no threat to us or our pet, because we have used Furious Howl and gotten everything in the frost trap over there. And while all that stuff is trying to catch up to us, we'll continue on with this pack in the middle of the hallway. Viper on the Warlock, Furious Howl, and return the pet to back around the corner. I was waiting for the Doomguard to cripple me so that I could use my PvP trinket, but the Doomguard didn't cripple me, nor my pet, so I can continue on without breaking this pull in half. I thought my pet got aggro on Crom Crush there, but he didn't, so I'll just have him tap Crom, Viper sting the next pack, Furious Howl, and send the pet back. He's out of harm's way, so we can continue on. I like to duck to the side there, because if I go straight ahead, then the pet despawns faster, and I want them to be far away from me. We hit the evade spot, but I'm going to jump over it and feign death anyway, and voila, it works! We are at the king. You all know the basics of this farm by now, and you all have seen plenty of runs up to the king. So I don't believe I need to repeat myself. That is the only run up to the king that we'll be seeing in this episode. Or rather, the only run we'll see today, period. I felt it was a good summary of the general strategies that I like to use. And I like to stick with strategies that are not at all risky, that are justifiable, because they put an emphasis on safety and speed. And both of those factors are very important for consistently farming this place. And we've actually cut to an entirely different run to get a good look at the kill itself. Because if I remember correctly, the other run I showcased, the run up to the king, had a shaman Cho at the end, and I don't like him. It's not very fun seeing all those heals during the fight, and or you know, needing to Viper Sting Charrush and having the pet rooted and all that. It's rather boring, I think. So we'll go with this Mage Cho because that's the funnest Cho, and we'll see a nice burst combo with the Nerubian Slavemaker without interference by Charrush. At least any significant utility interference when it comes to aiding the king. Anyway, we are past the burst cycle now. The dogs are patrolling around, so I've dropped a triangle on them. There's nothing to do but wait for the king to return to an appropriate position for us to continue, or initiate rather, the next kill cycle. He is actually very low on HP already, so we're going to hope for the charge. There it is, and we'll make sure to feign death as soon as possible, because Mage Cho is casting at us. We do not have cover out here. The pet is passing by, and that's good. Mage Cho will melee him in that case, and it makes him rather harmless. We'll continue to kill the king because he's very low. I'll have a Lily Root because that'll get the mage back on me. And I feel like Raptor Striking the King Gordok today. Now, he could have War Stomped me right there, and that would have been death, but you know, if you feel it, you feel it. Anyway, I think that'll about do it for our preliminary junk for today. It's just so very important to have yourself a reliable gold farm for Naxx, especially if your guild hasn't progressed yet, and you expect there may be wipes. So if Official Classic ever loops back around again, then hopefully you can be more prepared then than you were this time around. I did some farming before Naxx came out. Sold stuff when markets were high, bought some more when low, and I haven't needed to farm at all during Naxx. I did use up all my C4 recently because the TBC pre-patch means disenchanting stuff has an enchanting level requirement, but I'm getting sidetracked. Let's get started with Naxx. After buying ourselves some Alterac mana biscuits and some ammo, we're getting our summons to the spire here because the horde are everywhere, including up here actually, and I ought to go take care of that hunter. Come here, you. I'm gonna rapid fire everything on your butt. Oh, my aim shot got off even though he left my my range, and now my line of sight, but oh, you fell off. Well, nothing to do here. Might as well jump inside. Oh, sister's sake, they've got those the Fell Hunter ready, the freezing trap, but I have nothing to dispel, so all is well. I never really go out of my way to get buffs for raids, and I don't know what it is, but I just get burned out so quickly whenever I go to get buffs for raids. Maybe it's some leftover anxiety from private servers, trying to get to raid with all these world buffs and stuff. And hello there, 420 auto shot hit, a nice hit to start off the night. Blaze it! Anyway, the other reason is because I just like to focus on pulling and not having any buffs, or any buffs that I care about anyway. It just helps me do reckless and stupid things, potentially, without any hesitation whatsoever. It's just helpful to maintain that sort of mindset, you know what I mean? So about this run that we're seeing right here, I know that it's about time for TBC to come out, and I did want to get the Naxx episode done before TBC, because, well, obviously it seems kind of imprudent to release this during TBC. The only things left are slimes, so I'm going to go pull the next thing for the melee to handle, because the slimes hit very hard and the range need to be the ones on those. I was originally thinking of including some pre-patch footage in here, some pre-patch Naxx, because we're going to have some fun in there, but we're going to see plenty of that sort of gameplay in TBC, I think. And if I change my mind, I can always slip a little something into a future episode. But this particular run, the run that I chose to be the run for the Naxx Rammus episode, because I had a lot to choose from. We've been running Naxx Rammus every week since it came out. This particular run is the very first run my new guild, Ready Layer 1, completed the entire raid in one raid night. And unlike Midnight's raid hours, the raid hours for RLO are from 8 to 11, so that's only 3 hours. And I wasn't sure how long it would take, because, this is a very chill atmosphere. A whole bunch of moms and dads in here, it's very, very mature. But I tell you, these folks are great. They take their classes seriously, and even though they're not elitist about it. And that's exactly the sort of mindset that I love. Like, Yannick, the raid leader, and I had instant synergy after discussing my recruitment after Midnight fell apart, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. He already understood the power of the Lay of Lilies, which I passed out one to a healer earlier when I was trading out some of the water that I brought with me to raid. We've got a little bit of a break in the action at the moment because this trash will apply a stacking dot that can't be dispelled, so everyone just has to heal through it. There's 2 more of these, but I'm not going to make you sit through them all. We're going to see something funny.
Okay. Alright, stop. Do not back down or it's going to pull. It's pulled, let's go! We need to block cooldowns! Everyone, move forward! I need Death Wish, I need every cooldown or we will wipe. Healers, the whole fucking mana pot. This is going to be fucking hard. Every cooldown you got. This is going to be fucking hard.
You have nature pots. Use a nature pot.
Please use a nature pot. I don't want to wipe here. It's nature. It's nature. It's nature. I don't want to wipe here. Heal as hard as you can. Every cooldown you got.
Aspect of the wild if you can. Eat food as soon as it dies.
Eat. Anything. Try to keep people up. Keep eating, guys. Whatever you got. This is really fucking hard.
Oh man, it's gonna be an issue. Here.
Yeah, we're gonna lose people for sure.
Everybody? Ah, fuck.
There goes fucking shit. Come on, guys.
But fear not, Chenny was avenged because Galador pulled aggro on the very first hit on Noth and got one shot. So there went 2 world buffs right down the drain for absolutely no reason in the other run where this occurred. But we're cutting back to the main run that we're following. We'll occasionally cut to some other runs once in a while, maybe to see something funny or interesting otherwise. But we'll be staying focused on this particular run because it was the very first night when my guild cleared all of Naxx Rammus in a single 3-hour raid night. So it has a nice mixture of refined technique but not perfected yet. Because we've since changed our strategies, especially since Chrono Boons have come out. We originally liked to go through the Plague Wing first, it's the shortest wing, and world buffs made it a lot easier in our attempts to try to one-phase Noth or Heigan. And Heigan was a little bit trickier to one-phase, but Noth we definitely one-phased a whole bunch of times, and I think that was thanks to the world buffs. He's not a particularly complicated fight. There's some caster mechanic that we don't really need to worry about. Of course, if they fail it, we all die, but it's not exactly our fault, it's not our concern. The thing that tends to kill people the most on this fight is the aggro drop after blinks. So what I like to do to help our Clothy friends is try to full combo after a blink and fire off a distracting shot. Try to get him on me so I can put up aspect to the monkey or put up deterrence and maybe take a hit or two. Because those Clothies can't take any hits at all. And I'll show you an example of one of those instances. I'll get some crits and take some hits.
Rec's 20 seconds, right? No, we're not going to make it. Hold your rec. We're literally like 25% behind. Just hold your rec. Decurse, by the way. Decurse, by the way. That's important. Alright, he's going to go up. If you forget what this phase is, you're going to come to where square is in like 3 seconds.
And right there you also saw the power of a well-timed Lily Root. And I really like to give those things out to the hunters and the healers because, well, mages have their mana gems that are on the Healthstone cooldown, and warlocks, they have their Healthstone life tap combo, but we hunters, with our low mana costs for each spell cast, our good mana efficiency, and low mana pools in general, and the healers, who otherwise have to pop stuff like Dark Runes or whatever if they need mana. The Lay of Lilies is a very convenient boon for our paladins, druids, priests, I suppose shamans on the horde side, and hunters. And they're pretty cheap too. I usually find them on the auction house for like 20 to 50 gold, and I tend to buy anywhere in that sort of range. Lower is always better, but sometimes the price can go up to, say, 100 gold or something, and that's quite ridiculous. Especially if you're getting them for friends or something, and you need to get a lot of them. But clearly they're highly affordable, and everyone seems to appreciate it, so yeah. By the way, this is all it is. The phase that happens when he teleports up, by the way. Just some extra ad spawn, and sure, it gets progressively tougher if he teleports up multiple times, but we're not going to let that happen, obviously, so let's move on. I regard this gauntlet between Noth and Heigan as being kind of counterintuitive. I mean, have you seen a mage or warlock who's new to Naxx try to AoE in here on their first time? I don't know what it is, but every time they wind up killing themselves. So I'm not sure how exactly this gauntlet differs from AQ40's Sartura to Fankris gauntlet, or the suppression room in Blackwing Lair. That would make it so backwards. But for new guilds, for guilds that are new to this place, I've found that it always seems to work out better when the melee are on the bats and worms that are jumping in the raid, or charging or whatever, and the range take out the Plague Beast. I guess because the Plague Beast has some close range AoE damage that might harm the melee, and because the casters too easily tick off these bats and they're too hard to control because they charge around a lot. I'm not sure what our casters are doing differently now that enables them to AoE, as opposed to what they did on the first time in here, but that's just been my experience, and I find it kind of funny how it seemed to work out, at least at first. Oh, that was it, by the way. It was a very short gauntlet. We're just around the corner from Heigan, the dance boss, and a very fun boss too. Despite Naxxramas's various shortcomings, I do think the raid layout is very well designed, and some of the boss fights have great concepts. I think it was best explored in Wrath of the Lich King, because things were more accessible, there was less RNG, like how the orbs were added in Razuvious' fight, versus how priests need to deal with resists and such in Official Classic. And even in the original design of the raid, the fact that it's so non-linear that you can go to any wing that you want, in whatever order, and sure, there's a linear progression of bosses up to a certain point, up to the end boss of a certain wing. There are 4 wings to choose from, and my guild frequently changed which wing we wanted to go to first, until we figured out what felt the most comfortable. And hello there, Ignite aggro. And there goes Villy shooting up on the meters. He's our first ATS, and Decimation was our second. We're selling the third set of shards, of splinters rather, because it's going to be a hassle to assemble the rest of the staff in TBC. The person who's collecting the splinters at the moment will need to finish it by pugging during TBC, and we had some guildies who might have been interested in buying splinters, but we wound up selling them to a pug instead. And whatever the case, we'll be using the funds gained from selling those splinters to fund our TBC raiding efforts, which I think was a fair decision to make, considering how close we were to TBC around the time we finished our second ATS. The Loot Council in Arlo seems very considerate, very meticulous in their deliberation. They seem to take into account everyone's wants and needs and even feelings on the subject, which is always good to see whenever a Loot Council system is in place. Anyway, we've been doing the dance on Heigan for a little while now, and he's doing his slime thing, but it's about to end, as is he. We don't even need to do any more normal Phase 1 stuff, he's already dead. But there is a tiny bit more to this fight to see before we move on to Loatheb, the final boss in the Plague Quarter. Besides the Decrepit Fever and the Mana Burn and the dance-related shenanigans on Heigan, for some reason he sometimes teleports 3 people to the other room. My guild likes to send everyone back to the main room when there are 6 total because safety in numbers. So if well, this time around we were the second group teleported in, or rather I was in the second group teleported in, and so I was able to run back right away, but the other 3 had to remain behind and wait there for us to arrive to help them get out safely. Of course we made it back in just fine because we saw the splash, the fissure eruption as soon as we poked our head around that corner. So we knew it was safe. And we've arrived just in time to partake in the last dance of this evening, which we're going to skip over because it's time for Loatheb, which is kind of a fun fight in certain ways and not so fun in others. It's pretty basic for us DPS. We just wait until we pick ourselves up a Spore debuff and then get pumping, because it completely removes the issue of threat. And it also buffs crit chance like mad, which is tremendously fun. But the not so fun part is, well, besides getting this stupid battle check-in to work and running up to melee range to wing clip the boss because the battle check-in just won't go otherwise, the not so fun part is that it is kind of a consumables tax, and you kind of need all these various consumables to survive the fight. Between the warlocks needing to farm health stones, or soul stones in order to make health stones for the raid, or was it soul? No, it was soul shards. Excuse me. Between needing the healers to level up first aid because they need it to survive at certain points throughout this fight, and also the greater shadow protection potions, which are required for everyone. It's not so fun on the consumables department, and that is an aspect of this fight which I don't appreciate whatsoever. But I'll tell you what, weaving and pumping with a plus 60% or so critical strike chance is tremendously fun. So I think this fight can mostly be forgiven for that. The real issue comes from when folks are new to the raid and they don't quite have the spore rotation down, and maybe the healers screw up their order. You can ignore the healer junk, but regarding the spores for the DPS, only 5 people can get it at a time, so on occasion you'll see a group run over to the spore wherever it happens to spawn, and we try to keep that in one place, and by standing near it when it expires we get that debuff that I've got right there, which gives those effects I described. But yeah, I suppose after you get used to this and you no longer need to use so many consumables because your guild kills it much quicker. Like maybe you only need to use 1 greater shadow protection potion because your health stone and heavy runecloth bandage are quite sufficient. But if you do happen to need the optimal order for consumable use, then I would refer you to this list right over here. If memory serves, and it probably doesn't, but this was on forums of some sort, probably one of the Light's Hope or Elysium forums, and I've held on to it. I've saved it because I know that Midnight in particular was new to Naxx, and Arlo too. Many folks in Arlo were also new to Naxx, so it's always useful to hold on to these various resources that may or may not come in useful in the future. We don't actually need to go for another Spore debuff right here. We're pretty much done with this fight as it is, but I walked over there anyway. So we'll just stutter step back over near the boss to check the loot. And hello there, Eye of Nerub. We've gotten so many of those. Oh, and I don't know if you noticed, but Takanu died on that Heigan that we did, but this is what his DPS looks like, normally. So, real pity about that. We've lost quite a few world buffs in the Plague Wing on this first one-night clear run, and it's definitely going to hurt in the long run. But we will press on. We will push through, and we will claim victory for this is the future, and we know how this turns out. But that doesn't mean that it's not intense and fun to spectate anyway. Fun to commentate on. Fun indeed to watch those melee eat the war stomps and the cleaves and the other things that these nasty green abominations do. The Plague Wing is the shortest wing by far because of how little trash it has. I mean, sure, it has those annoying gargoyles, and you've got to pause after the couple of packs unless you do some crazy speedrun strategies of some sort. But the other ones, like Construct and Military and Spider, they all have oodles of trash, and we have to take it all out. Or at least enough as we must to reach those bosses that we seek to destroy. So back to what I was saying earlier. So Yenneck and I have had some really great synergy since I got here. He just so happened to be looking for a hunter main to fill a roster spot. When Midnight fell apart, there was a little bit of tangling with a different guild, but through some shenanigans, we wound up in RLO. Or most of us did, at least. And to my knowledge, he didn't actually have any designated pullers before I came along. Like, he just said, hey, X-Hunter, go pull this, and go shoot this, and all that. But one of the most important things, I think, for hunters theory crafting in vanilla, I know that there are some folks who scoff at the idea, at the notion of hunter theory crafting, for we're supposed to just shut up and pull the next target. But that is exactly what theory crafting is important for. In order to most efficiently pull the next thingamajig, we need to understand what it is that our guild wants us to pull, what it is that we ought to do in order to pull these things in the optimal order, and how quickly, and all this other stuff. We don't actually need to kill these abominations, and I'll show a little skip later where we simply walk right past them. But at this juncture, my guild did like to pull them, and so this was the time that I pulled them across the room when the pack on the left was cleared. Anyway, so again, as I was saying, Yenneck has proven to have very specific strategies about what exactly it is that he wants pulled, when he's very vocal in communicating with me, and he's very receptive to my own communication with him. So things have been working out really fantastic. They've been letting me do my own thing, in addition to giving me the lowdown on what it is they're looking from me. So there's a bit of a back and forth where we decide, hey, I'm gonna go pull this. We're not quite ready, but hey, we can handle it, and maybe we can handle it next time. And Yenneck has proven a bit of an experimentalist himself. There's a little bingo card that the RLO folks have, and one of the squares says, Yenneck tries a new thing, and sometimes that works out, and other times we wipe and lose every world buff. But no matter what, we always learn something from these experiments, and it's a lot of fun trying new things all the time. It has been a blast playing in here, because it's this sort of limit testing that's so vitally important for understanding the boundaries that we hit, and we know not to go any further, but we know what to push and what not to, and we know when. And I know I'm not the only one looking to push those boundaries.
Let's shoot the slimes. Get ready to AoE the door. Please do not pull the golem, which means you're AoEing on the left. If you haven't been with us before, these things have random aggro, so we need to walk together backwards with the square. You can start AoEing now. Why is Philly the only one in the right spot? Congratulations, Philly, you win. Everyone else, what are you doing with your life? Philly got some extra damage there. Good job.
I'm glad he said Philly.
Yeah, I complimented him because he did his job well.
I never get complimented when I do my job well.
Yes, you do.
You never do it well.
There it is. There it is.
It's like 0 times.
Bye, Soul Slurp. Have a nice day.
I'm pretty sure that Precursor is my new favorite person.
Bye, Mike.
Because because now I could just ask Nick questions and get the answer I want.
Alright, Res Soul. Guys, for this part, this is the hardest part in Naxx remaining. If you pull this, we're going to be really fucked. So when you step up to here, you need to put on your RP walk to walk slow, and then you go around it very carefully. Hug the left with your RP walk on. It's great. You can't fuck this up if you do the RP walk. Yeah, good, great, love it.
Yep, Yannick is often much more mild-mannered than he might have been portrayed in that first clip with raid comms, you know, with the gargoyles and Galanor. That probably was the most ticked I've ever heard him, but most often he's like you just heard. Anyway, I'm gonna shut up with the meta commentary and actually talk about some of these mechanics that we've been dealing with. These Bile Retchers are by far the most dangerous foes in this area. We saw them in the last area, and they have that frontal acid spit AoE, that cone attack, and also the knock-up that they can do, which in fact can be dodged or parried and such. These packs of green abominations, the Patchwerk golems as they're called, are also rather dangerous, but not quite as much so. I've put up to turns and I've considered popping a lip, but I trust my healers to keep me alive. I'm not going to spend one, and indeed they do keep me alive, and I was just trying to bring them across the way and get them in a position that's decently away from the raid. Like most NPC cleaves in this game, their cleave does in fact chain across people, so it can hit people quite far away from where they started, and although unlikely, they can in fact kill people, especially Clothies, even if there's only one of them. I'm going to pull this Bile Retcher over here because the Cleave and War Stomp stacking up with the Bile Retcher AoE is quite nasty. Like in that one pack we saw earlier, with 2 Patchwerk Golems and one of these Bile Retchers. Very nasty combination indeed. Though I suppose there is one more, possibly more dangerous enemy, and it's this white in these large packs here that can sometimes drop a lightning totem or fear everyone, and usually they're one-shot by the precast strategy. So they're not usually more dangerous than those Bile Retchers, which can be really nasty and don't have any telegraphing for when exactly they'll just go and hex somebody up, as opposed to these whites. So I would regard them as less dangerous. There is a harmless abomination, these Sludge Belchers here. All they do is spawn an ad that doesn't even do any AoE. They don't really do anything. All they do is put up a disease buffet, and that's about it. So conveniently, we can pull these during these big packs without getting anyone killed very easily. The other abominations on patrol are Bile Retchers, however, so we will need to be more careful. And in the meantime, we'll have to make our way to them by precasting on all those packs beforehand. And I'll show you the power, the danger of one of these Bile Retchers. As you can see, around that corner, the Bile Retcher is faced towards the raid because its acid spit comes towards the square. It's immediately followed by a knock-up which kills one of our priests. So those things can kill people very easily by themselves. But on the bright side, these big packs sure are good fodder for Bladestorming if you happen to get a lucky proc. But you know I've got to put these Bladestorm clips in wherever I can. Oddly, Naxx is one of those raids where there are plenty of packs that are ripe for Bladestorms. And I say it's odd because there are relatively few in Blackwing Lair and Ahn'Qiraj, but Naxx there are lots of big packs like these, or just packs in general, where you can get some nice whirlwind damage like this. Oh, look at it, it warms my little Huntard heart. Spinning and winning, and by this juncture you're more than likely to have something really nice to pair it with. Some nice burst trinket to pop during it, in addition to, say, a sapper charge or whatever potion that you might require at a given time. And there are just as many sappertunities in Naxx as there are Bladestorm opportunities. Actually, I suppose there are more opportunities than Bladestorm opportunities, but there's still a decent amount of both. Oh, about Patchwerk. He has some tanking mechanics that we don't really need to concern ourselves with. There isn't much to say about him, just stay at range and pew-pew, or dip into the slime before the fight starts. Drink up so you have low HP but high mana, and weave away if you happen to play with a two-hander. He is kind of a target dummy boss, so I'd be remiss if I didn't pick up buffs one day and shoot him with him. We'll see some buff damage after this fight, but keep an eye on my actions here. I make a couple of mistakes, like I accidentally fail to let an auto-shot finish, or I move out before Raptor goes off. In the meantime, however, because it is a target dummy boss, I'll go back to rambling about some other stuff. So, funny story. There are a few reasons it took so long to get this episode out, besides the absolute insanity going on in the world during 2020, and how it continues on into 2021. What is it, girl? You be quiet now. No, stop it. Stop it. I'm sorry, folks. She's fine. She just does this all the time. She cries about everything. But she'll learn. She's very young. Now, as I was saying, where even was I? So, as I was saying, the impact of recent events, 2020, 2021, I say no more. The years are crazy enough, they speak for themselves. At least 2021 has been crazy enough so far. But it's gonna get crazier, you just know it. And also, besides the length of this episode, making it difficult to actually get it out and finish it, I kind of accidentally locked myself out of my own Discord account, and I'm not sure what happened exactly, but two-factor authentication vanished from my device. None of my 2FA backup codes worked, and of course nobody's gonna just hand over the account given the circumstances. So that's beyond recovery. But in this lead up to TBC, I have had the opportunity to, among other things, create an entirely new Discord server, so I can continue to maintain the archives and the art gallery and such, and I've cleaned it up a bit too, reduced the amount of channels overall, and I can give some of you regulars an elite role, because some of you all have been so helpful to folks in the den when I'm not around, answering questions and being absolutely lovely, so I want to show y'all who have been doing that some proper appreciation. Oh, and I also ported over a bunch of pins from the original Ravager den. I wanted to have this Discord business sorted before this episode came out. I just haven't had the time. You could think of it as starting fresh for TBC, but the truth is, as I've said, I can't maintain the other Discord because of the shenanigans, so here we go. But hey, it's an opportunity to also change up the environment some, make it a bit more spicy, so I can share some more fun memes more often. I was in kind of a conservative mindset at first when it came to the language and imagery, because YouTube censorship is crazy. And I've also got some family IRL I want to set a good example for, but it's probably better to just speak my mind anyway and demonstrate tact and context to those in my care. That doesn't mean going full on NSFW on the Discord or suddenly commentating on stuff my channel ain't about, but it does mean more memes. And that's always a good thing, because memes are the spice of life, and it's through memes that we communicate the purest essence of our hearts and minds. It is the purest essence of a hunter, memes. And good golly gosh gee williker zippity doo, I just want to make you smile and wish you the most beautiful day ever, because I love life and I want to share this joy with every single one of you fantastic fellow huntards. I'm not sure I've said it yet today, but thank you for being here. I love all of you, I'm excited for TBC and excited to do more episodes, because it has been way too long and I wish there were more time in the day. But back to the subject of Discord, it's a good way for us to stay in touch between episodes, so I know it's inconvenient, but I hope to see you there. So, I've replaced the link in every one of my prior episodes with the new one, and I've also put that link in the description of this episode. And I'll try not to let whatever happened with my 2FA junk happen again, because that was really silly, whatever happened. Man, I went on for a while there, didn't I? Excuse me, folks. Let's get back to this run here that we're supposed to be following. So I've pulled these three across the room now, because Grobbulus was patrolling back down at the time, and if I waited for him to come back to the floor, if I pulled the ones on the left first, then these three would be in a very inconvenient spot to attempt to pull across the room. So we pulled these first, and now the ones on the left are right here. Very easy to grab as soon as the raid is ready for them. Very accessible. And once these are dead, we can move right on to Grobbulus himself. Grobbulus on this particular night was rather scuffed. Our guildmaster disconnected, so we were a little bit late to the party on the command to pull the boss, so I was asked to grab him very quickly and yank him down to the tanking spot, which I did. And he is actually a very fun boss to weave on, but we'll see the weaving soon. Due to Official Classic's behavior where he faces towards people and may for over a second when he casts his mutating injection or whatever that's called, it is possible for him to spawn many of those slimes on all the melee DPS if he happens to be faced away from the tank at the time that he spawns them on any players in front of him, which is an instant raid wipe. And it did happen to my guild, it happened to my last guild, it happened to some guilds that I know. So this guild, RLO, used to yank the melee out from Grobbulus before he could cast the spell, bring them back to the ranged group, and Grobbulus would therefore have no one to potentially spawn the ads on, which worked very well. But after our very first KT kill, the melee were permitted to stay in on Grobbulus as a bit of a reward, and they are very happy about that because now they can hack and slash to their heart's content. There's Yennik back there, the square. He is still disconnected, and he will for the remainder of the fight. He'll remain disconnected, sadly for him. In the meantime, we're kind of getting eaten up by all these clouds, so I'll pop a new nature protection potion and circle around to the side, but the cloud in the middle of the room is once again, the middle of the room is once again clear. The cloud has cleared up, so we can move back towards the rest of where the rest of the ranged DPS and the healers are congregating, and the tank will bring Grobbulus around yet another corner. And it looks like we can about finish it up here, but unfortunately Yennik did not make it to the end of this fight. He is dying right now, and there's our healers were unfortunately unable to save him in this case. His disconnection definitely cost us a few minutes, but other than that, the run was within our raid night's time, so that's what we're telling everyone. Don't spread the secret, okay? Don't tell anyone. But we are once again going to cut to a different run when things weren't so scuffed, and I'm going to show you a little bit of weaving on this fight. This fight is a bit tricky to weave on, but also very fun. You kind of need to stay close to the tank. Keep up with the tank as he moves Grobbulus around the room. He does need to be moved because those melee are going to be in a world of hurt if we just have them stand there. They're not going to survive that way. So I'm exercising my burst rotation for the moment, and when my haste buffs are gone, I'm going to dedicate the time to dash in and Raptor Strike. And here we go. Here's a nice crit to start us off. You'll notice I have a nature protection potion up because Grobbulus has certain mechanics in close range, like the slimes that spawn. They deal some nature damage to people nearby, and that can push back aim shot casts. So in order to effectively weave on this fight, not only do we need to stutter step after the tank and keep up with the boss himself in close enough range to dash in where we can. I've got mutating induction, so I'm going to dash off to the side too. That's another mechanic that we have to pay attention to. But we cannot allow our aim shot to be pushed back, and we also need to dash in as often as we can for those Raptor Strikes. So that's what makes this a bit tricky, but also very fun. And it was particularly important regarding the melee being pulled out before we killed KT for the first time, that we all kept our world buffs because they sped up the night. But now that we can clear all of Naxx in under 3 hours without world buffs, it's not so tremendously important to be cautious on Grobbulus anymore. That was another buff to kill, by the way. I believe it was in the same run as that Patchwerk I showed earlier while I was rambling. And I scrolled down on the meters at the end there if you were curious about how that turned out. Anyway, we're moving on to Gluth at the moment. We've got our nature protection consumed by the tunnel there, and we've used Aspect of the Wild to protect our allies. I've summoned my battle chicken, I've equipped my badge of the Swarm Guard, I've dropped a frost trap, and now we're gonna chase after Gluth, because we need to be nearby for about 10 seconds from now, when we need to use our tranquilizing shot. Gluth is a little bit tougher to weave on. He's got a close range fear, so it's critical that we stay further away than minimum range. Otherwise, we will be hit by that fear, and it's not pleasant to be sent fleeing. Not for us, because it's bothersome for our damage rotation, and it's also bothersome for the tank if we happen to be feared at the time that we need to be the one to fire our trank shot out. We happen to have 4 hunters in this particular raid, because Orlo has connections with other guilds, and through these connections we can stay filled to the brim on those nights where we happen to be a tad short. And it's indubitably a contributing factor to the success of Orlo, and how it was able to raid from when Naxx was released on Official Classic all the way up until TBC. By the way, this is what a Phase 2 looks like on Gluth. It's very scary. Just don't pop a Sapper Charge and focus heals on the tank in particular. That's the only thing that matters, and doing that, Gluth will die. And then it's on to Thaddius, the final boss in the Construct Quarter. And also another one of the fun bosses in Naxx. Similar to Loatheb, he has a mechanic that increases our damage significantly. And he's also kind of a fight that we would call a retard check, or well, I suppose that's unfair to colorblind people, but then again, there are symbols on the debuff, so sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. At the moment, we're killing the 2 adds to start the fight. These things need to die at the same time. The ranged are on one side, the melee are on the other for some reason. I don't really care for the details, it's not our problem. Sometimes they toss the tanks across to the other side, that's fun to see. We say hello to our new tanks and say goodbye to the old ones. And whenever it is that these guys are dead, we can go ahead and use our spacebar to jump down to Thaddius' platform. And of course, it is important that you actually jump to reach this platform, otherwise you won't make it. Unless, of course, you use Aspect of the Pack, and at the very least, I do remember to use Aspect of the Pack most of the time, because I forget to use my spacebar the other half of the time. So, looks like some poor warrior did not quite make the jump, but he's landed safely on one of the platforms in the middle of the slime. And he'll just have to make his way up whenever is possible for him. In the meantime, we'll get started with the actual mechanics right about now. The first polarity shift has come out. We've received a positive charge because we are nothing but positivity. Wrapped up in a snuggly bundle of huntery love joy yay, and therefore we are on the right side of the boss, for we are for all things are right with us, you know what I mean? And by sharing our love energy with the other positive people, we have created the biggest numbers possible in history. And oh no, I feel infected by depression now. We've become a negative Nazi, and looks like some poor bastard got over. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh. Oh, that's really too bad. I'm sorry, I should probably explain something here. The positives and negatives don't mix, and Thaddius has his chain lightning attack he uses in addition to this whole polarity nonsense. and you will get yourself or your friends killed if you use Aspect of the Pack or of the Cheetah to swap sides. It's especially a pity that we lost Hyperials. He's actually a very good hunter. Oh wow, we just had a bad lag spike there, and that can be pretty lethal at a bad time. But yeah, Hyper is a real pumper, and it's a real pity that we lost him. But hey, we've regained our positivity, because we are still going to pull through this boss fight, and there is nothing that he can do to stop us. Even though we are facing the boss now, and there's nothing we can do about that to get behind him and avoid those parries on our Raptor Strike. I don't really have any comments about optimizing on this fight. You do your normal range rotation, and if you can, try to weave around a time like this, before the polarity shift happens. just before it happens so that you can transition to the other side if necessary at the optimal time. So to save everyone's lives, the negatives like to spread out around this whole room, and if you're positive when the boss dies, you get the heck out of the room. Go back to the main room, and since we're going military next, I'm going to set myself up in front of military. Of course, this is a different run, so we'll cut back to the original run. The charges have all fallen off, and we are going to get started on the military quarter now. What we're about to see is a long stretch of chain pulling, so I'm going to explain the trash here really quickly, and then I'm going to get into some more rambling. So these Necro Knights here, they're pretty few and far between, but they are one of the most dangerous enemies in Naxx. They are much like normal mages that the players play, the player mages. They're very squishy, so they can be killed very quickly, but they also have tremendous AoE damage, so if you have a whole bunch of Necro Knights and they jump into the middle of your raid is going to take a significant amount of damage, maybe some people die. And these Death Knights, as you can see, they have an intimidating shout. I am feared, but I am okay, because I have a limited invulnerability potion and a buff. Because our paladins are lovely, and that was entirely intentional, obviously. I went over there to pull the next enemies. And that was... Don't question it. I'm going to bump the speed up. I hope 2.5 isn't too disorienting for you, my friends. These Death Knight captains, they have a whirlwind attack, much like our Bladestorm, only theirs hits much harder and also stuns people in the area. I totally forgot to swap to my Goblin Rocket Boots, but I'll do so at my earliest convenience. The other enemies that we pulled in that pack are insignificant, so much so that I didn't even bother to mark them. The Skeletal Smiths have a Thunderclap, kind of annoying, but nothing very consequential. They might slow me down, but of course I can always ask my Paladin friends for a Blessing of Freedom, and I'll do my best to stay away. The Shades, they cast a Shadow Bolt volley on everything in front of them, so I do my best to keep them faced away from the raid, but of course the tanks may sometimes taunt them while it is facing the raid, and that will get everyone Shadow Bolted. One of our tanks bit off a little bit more than he could chew right there with 3 enemies, but we were ready with the multi-shot to make sure that he stayed alive. By the way, this is actually a different run from the one I was showing earlier. There are some less mistakes, there are less pointless delays. I felt it was a bit cleaner, but also similar enough to the run that we're looking at to show in its place. But then again, so is every subsequent run, isn't it? Anyway, there's even more different types of trash downstairs, but we'll be getting there soon enough. Our Goblin Rocket Boots are ready, and we can go ahead and pull the next pack. And I'm going to change topic now because it's nothing more but a whole bunch more of these guys for now. I've got some friends who no longer play or who are unable to play but want to, and have never seen Vanilla Naxx. You know, some retail friends who are like, hey Raz, how's it going in Official Classic? You know, how's Naxx going? Is it as hard as they say? And well, no, everything is easier these days, but Naxx is still very relatively challenging when compared to stuff like Ankh-Raj and Blackwing Lair. And part of that, I think, is explained by Naxx being balanced around the final patch of Vanilla, which is what we've been playing with this whole time. But also, Naxx is just a very long raid. It's 15 bosses long, again, and we've only cleared 2 wings thus far, and at the moment we are on the trash leading up to the first boss in the military quarter, which has 3 bosses: Razuvious, Gothik, and these are new trash, by the way. I guess I should remark on them. These cavaliers have a melee cleave, a death coil, and also a shadowy aura, a shadow damage aura that does not last very long but cannot be dispelled and stacks up. So the packs containing only 1 are mostly consisting of very negligible enemies, so they can be pulled very rapidly, but it is worth noting that at least at the time that my guild raided Naxx, maybe they patch it in the future, but the Shadow Aura can hit my guildies on the floor above from down here. So on the instance where we got 2 of them at once, I waited a moment before pulling the pack with a 1 so that the double aura was not refreshed. This pack contains 3 enemies, and RAP Rocket Boots right there, but one of them does not apply the Shadow Aura, so it's not quite as terrifying as it might look. So regarding the chain pulling itself, as we've spoken about before, if you want to optimize your chain pulling speed and efficiency, you must be certain to pull the next target when the dangerous targets in the prior pack have been eliminated, and in such a way that the next targets will hit your melee, or rather that your melee DPS will connect with the next pack around said time that the dangerous targets in the prior pack have perished, and that's about it. These horses are the last trash in the first part of this military quarter, and the most that they do is a dangerous stomp in melee range and an intercept. So it's good to be in the middle of the raid by the time they charge anybody, so that you don't get charged and one stomped, or one shot, or both. But that's not particularly hard to do. And well, it's about time that we swap back to the original run that we're meant to be observing here. But there was one particular moment in the trash that I did want to show. You know me, I've got a little bit of a squirrel brain here, and I see this guy spinning, and I'm like, oh, I want to spin on you. But alas, when I go in and attempt to spinny, I wind up killing myself and losing whatever remained of my Onyxia and Darkmoon Fair buffs. So if you're wondering what happened to those buffs, we're not quite returning to that run just yet, because I did something completely inexcusable on Razuvious in the other run, and I'll explain it here. You see, this particular Razuvious kill is a perfect example of what you must do on Razuvious. First, you see how everyone else is Loaster on the corner there? Well, they missed the boat on eating that shout. And if you don't know what the shout is, Razuvious sometimes lets out a mana-burning shout, and it deals 1 damage for every point of mana that you have. Hunters will never be one-shot by this, so there is absolutely no reason why we should be afraid of being hit by it. Besides, of course, not being able to cast our aim shot or multi-shot, but why would we want to do that anyway? Because Razuvious is your bio break. You start your auto shot on this fight, and then you go to the bathroom, you get yourself a drink, you maybe step outside, pet your dog, and come back, and miraculously you will have loot, because this is a loot pinata. Well, there are some mechanics for priests, which they might be concerned with, but they are not in the least bit a concern for us. And, well, I suppose you don't go AFK right away. You pop your badge of the Swarm Guard, your John Kabar, your Rapid Fire, or whatever other burst trinkets you happen to have. And then you go AFK after your little burst rotation. And if for some reason you want to keep mana for a little bit longer through such a rotation, then you pop a limited invulnerability potion when the shout goes out. Because a lip will actually absorb the mana burn effect. It is a physical attack, so lips apply there. Anyway, Razuvious is about dead by now, and as you can see, despite literally being AFK after my burst rotation, my DPS is only 150 or so below the other hunters, so that worked out pretty well. But now let's cut back to the main raid that we're actually supposed to be following here. In this raid, I did not go AFK, and I stuck around, but I've moved down before the boss is dead, because I want to be in the position to pull the next trash pack as soon as possible. We did have a few deaths there for silly reasons, because Razuvious is a silly boss. Sometimes the priest gets some kind of resist, and it's no good for our melee DPS, or sometimes a priest, if a priest gets hit by one of those shouts or something. So we couldn't pull right away, but I was in the position to do so, in case my guildmaster decided, hey, even though there are 3 people dead, I want these the next trash pack coming our way right now. And what are these trash packs? These are enchanted weapons. Well, they're moderately dangerous foes. You've got these staves, which are mostly CC, with the Frost Nova and the Polymorph, which thank you for the Dispel healers. The Arcane Explosion is a bit nasty, and it has a large radius in which it deals damage, but it doesn't quite hit as hard as those axes do in melee. They have sweeping strikes. They have a cleave attack or a whirlwind attack, similar to how the Slayers work in Ahn'Qiraj, the Temple of Ahn'Qiraj. You know, the Cthulhu trash. And we've briefly cut to a different run here once again because I want to demonstrate. If you happen to get 4 of these things, if you happen to get too many of them, just do your best to bring as many as you can away from the main raid, because their combined AoE damage will be terribly powerful. I could have feigned death a bit sooner here. I thought I might be safe if I feigned death before I couldn't take another auto hit, but as it turned out, it comboed an Arcane Explosion after that, so I should have feigned a bit sooner. So that was my bad. Moving on, there's another pack with 2 Necro Knights and 1 Shade. The Necro Knight is trashed by our precasts, and the second one goes down very quickly. The Shade is also similarly squishy. And then we're on to the Cavaliers, which this is another 2-pack of them, so that Shadow Aura will stack up considerably, but the Shadow Aura can be outranged. And if you noticed earlier, I was pulling them up to the melee group, but the ranged were standing quite far away. Oh, and there's the Death Coil that they cast, but it's a negligible thing. Except for the time that it can waste if it hits you while you're trying to run back down to pull the next target, of course. We're almost at Gothik, but first I'm going to spin properly on these folks. I have popped a limited invulnerability potion and gotten a Bladestorm proc, so we have taken vengeance for our lost buffs earlier, and we've completed the meme.
No, you gotta kill it or it kills
zero
us.
before our hit points hit 0. I think we win.
See if it's after raid, dude.
That's the best you're getting.
She said.
Calendar pops open a beer.
He's ready.
It's definitely a soda. He wouldn't drink during the raid.
Guys, jokes aside, gotta super focus here because we are not using CC. If I recognize this is a terrible idea, I'm gonna immediately call for CC. So I'm like melee. I need you to talk to me and tell me if you're getting fucked or not.
Who's
So-
the first on the right side?
Oh, you'll know.
Zeddy?
My Oni head fell off.
Zeddy's on the left with me.
So as you could hear from the raid comms, this was the first time that we decided to attempt Gothik the Harvester without using crowd control. Now, besides the fact that this fight is one long slog through nothing but tons of trash mobs, it is a pretty neat concept, and it can be pretty fun, depending on some of the RNG you get. Maybe you can get some nice multi-combos, and we'll try to set up some multis throughout this whole event. So how this works is we're separated from half the raid at the moment. That gate in the middle of the room has closed, and all the magic users are on that side, because the undead enemies tend to be resistant or outright immune to magic. So they're over there killing the living enemies that come flooding into that room. And in the meantime, the ghosts of said living enemies, when they die, come floating over to this side of the room. They fly to one of these skeleton piles, or bone piles, if there are no skeletons perhaps. It could be just bones. I haven't had a look. I haven't had a close look. Maybe they're just a bunch of assorted bones with no real structure to them. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked once again. The spirits fly over here, and they spawn as undead enemies, and we need to slaughter them again and put them down for good. At the moment, we are getting Death Knights and Trainees, but the Trainees will continue to be our main target, because they let out this Arcane Explosion in a fairly wide radius, actually, and that can quickly become a major problem. Our melee are all very good. They have all popped their Greater Arcane Protection potions. I do on occasion too, but sometimes I do not, and the melee can eat everything else up rather quickly. And we'll use our ranged attacks to delete the trainees from existence as quickly as possible, or at least damage them enough that the melee can finish them off very quickly once they reach the pile of raiders in the back of the room here. Now, this would probably be the best time to use some burst, like a burst trinket or rapid fire. because the waves of trash can get pretty overwhelming, and it's very easy for one of the melee to die, especially if they're not checking what they're smacking first, and they wind up hitting a Death Knight rather than one of those trainees as soon as it spawns at the skeleton pile. What I like to do on this fight is hang around on top of a skeleton pile and raptor whatever comes my way, while also shooting something in any of the other 4 piles. And by doing that, I can make some use of my melee strike, while also exercising my ranged abilities to attack the trainees, which should only consist of auto-shot and multi-shot, because the trainees are immune, outright immune to arcane shot, which would otherwise be really useful because it's some instant damage on targets that die nearly instantly. But alas, what can you do? But yes, as I was saying, it would be wise to use burst damage during the trash mobs as opposed to attempting to use it on the boss, because Gothik actually also dies rather quickly once he finally arrives in the arena, and the big threatening waves around, or after wave 8, I should say, after wave 8 and on, are much more deserving of our attention. So far it appears that we have 1 death, but things are still holding strong and steady, and so we are not using any CC still. Pretty soon Gothik will teleport. There he is! He is teleported into the arena on the live side, and in the meantime we'll finish up everything else that needs cleaning up, which, as it turns out, was just that target. Right there. And now there's nothing else to do but wait for Gothik to show up here. Now, because he does die very quickly, I'm going to pop all of my stuff at once. Usually I like to let Band of the Swarmguard tick up a little bit, but there's no time for that. And in fact, there's not quite enough time for the rest of my stuff either, not even the Jam Gabar or Rapid Fire. It's still going even as Gothik dies. Oh well, lessons for later, lessons for next time, and it is how we continue to improve until we get an even greater time the next time, and the next time, and the next time. And since nobody is dead anymore, we can go ahead and grab this shade and get started on the trash, the last of the trash, I should say, in the military quarter, down to the final boss of the military quarter, or bosses, I should say, those being the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. Now, we're going to see a very similar area to this later on, and take good note of the structure of this area. And despite how simple it is in the other area that we'll be going to in the Spider Wing to skip certain trash packs, here in the military quarter, generally speaking, this particular area is not very skip friendly. Not only because of how the ghoul patrols work out, but also because the patrols that wander throughout this entire area consist of 2 Necro Knights and 1 Death Knight Cavalier each, which is absolutely terrifying. Now, if all the raid moves very far to the side and lets these patrols pass, then all is well. But they can be pulled rather easily if your guild is inexperienced navigating this area and navigating around those patrols. Oh, what an awful Shadow Bolt volley. I just put up Cheetah. Anyway, as I said, we're going to go quickly through this area through chain pulls for the most part, and we'll leave the skips for later. And in doing so, we'll be in the safest possible position should those patrols show up. And we must show them the proper respect, otherwise we will be out of position at some point and wind up getting nuked. In fact, here comes one such patrol right now, but it will take a little while to get here, so we'll pull these 4 ghouls in the back of the room and kill them while we await for the patrol to make its way up the ramp and the stairs. And by the way, these ghoul packs are fairly common around the outskirts of Naxx, and there are also some semi-ghoul packs in the beginning of the Plague Quarter before Noth, which we saw around the beginning of the run. And they're also one of those packs that are ripe for Bladestorms. I would be attempting to get one now, but I'm a little bit more attentive to the patrol coming up our way. I've marked them, and now I'm going to pull the cross off to the left where it can be safely very far away from everyone else. There's nothing really safe about Necro Knights, but relatively speaking, it is the safest way to approach them, to dissect this pack and separate the allies from each other. And since we've done it so well, we can move on very quickly and proceed to kill the second pack of gargoyles over here. We never know when the second patrol might be coming up our way. We haven't got eyes on it. So we're better safe than sorry today, and we're going to kill everything in our path that we must. At least until that other patrol is accounted for, in which case there's no need to be so cautious. Until then, though, our next target will be the two cultists standing down there in the archway, leading to the next section of this area. The final section that we really need to cross before we get to the boss. These cultists annoyingly like to stand around and channel a Shadow Bolt volley even when there are no targets in range. So it's usually a good idea to pull them at what would seem like a premature time, but actually is not. Anyway, we're going to try for a Bladestorm on this ghoul pack. We've fired off our multi-shot and gotten a Holy Strength proc, and popped our Drum Gabar early. We can actually pop it during Bladestorm, so there's no need to... there we go. We've gotten ourselves a proc, and many yay, that is very fun. But we can't stick around and keep spinning. We've got to pull the shade right now. One, because those ghouls are about dead right now, and two, the second patrol is on its way to us. So I'll mark it up right now, and it looks like we're just going to wait for it to reach our present location before we engage. This is one of those rare mana break moments. As before, we'll do our best to help split this pack into parts. I've hit cross with a little something, and we'll try to guide it over in this direction. A tank has grabbed it, and Skull is in just the right position for a multi-shot. We fired it off. We'll weave a little bit on cross, and it's already dead. I'm eyeing the ghouls far away, but my guildmaster says, hey, we're not going to pull those, we're just going to skip those, so I double back. And that leaves only the pair of cultists in the next archway, and we're done. Just as soon as these two are dead, of course. The next fight is logistically complicated, but mechanically simple. I'll do my best to elaborate good and quick. The Four Horsemen each have two mechanics, one shared and one unique. Their shared mechanic works identically between them. Each applies a unique stacking debuff to all local players that deals a set amount of damage, increased by however many stacks of the same sort you have on you. And by local, I mean within like 60 yards or so. You can't outrange it. Kel'Thuzad has a meteor mechanic, Mograine has a tank nuke or something we don't really care about because we're hunters and not tanks. Don't stand in the fire on Blamu, and Zeliek basically does Cthulhu's Eye Beam. Oh yeah, and they each do two 20-second shield walls at 50% and 20% HP respectively. So how we're approaching this fight right now is we're nuking Kel'Thuzad through his shield wall so we don't have to worry about cycling DPS groups in to stack with the tank here. That's simply too much of a hassle, and nuking him greatly simplifies the rest of the encounter. By nuking him so hard, we skip right over his second shield wall and kill him. His ghost will remain in the corner until the end of the fight to apply his mark to anyone nearby, so we can't just all hang around in his corner, but there is a safe spot in the middle of the room. With Kel'Thuzad finished, we cycle tanks and healers around the room so none of them rack up marks for too long on a single boss and find themselves totally unable to survive. In the meantime, we DPS will exercise personal responsibility and go where we must. Mograine has a tendency to wreck tanks, so we like to finish him second for safety. I'll stay on him as long as I can, and then the melee DPS will want to head to Blamu next. Zeliek will chain everybody in melee, but not at range, assuming all range DPS and healers are too far away for him to cast his chaining Holy Beam meme. So we'll yeet on over to him. And now is the appropriate time to do so because he has been pushed into his shield wall, and that should be our goal with the Horsemen. If we can, we should stick around until they are pushed into using shield wall, and then depart. Because by that point, all we're going to do is wind up stacking marks and be generally useless on that particular horseman until the shield wall and the related marks fall off. Things look all clear at the moment. I'm only surveying the situation and making sure that my pet is alive. So let's head on over to Zeliek now. FYI, the pet can chain his Holy Beam Yeem. So if you want to send your pet in, make sure he's healed up at the safe spot from Mograine, and then send him in on Blaumu. Just don't forget to use the retreat macro to send the pet back to the safe spot in the middle of the room, around the time you have to retreat from Zeliek. However, during this particular run, I was under the impression that pet behavior versus boss mechanics was slightly different. And if you're curious, on Thaddius, the pet could not actually chain the lightning attack, his chain lightning attack, at the time that this particular run was recorded. However, the pet could be the primary target of the chain lightning attack, and therefore bounce to other players. So it was always risky, knowing how this worked on Thaddius, to send the pet in on Zeliek, but the first rule of Hunter is give 0 hex. So here I was, not giving any hex whatsoever. And speaking of not giving hex, it seems that Mograine actually has his shield wall, his second shield wall, up at the moment, so we're going to retreat and head on over to Blaumu. She leaves these void zones on the ground, and that was the fire that I was talking about earlier, quote-unquote. It deals incredible damage if you happen to stand in it, but not standing in it is not terribly difficult, even for a 2 IQ player like me. You know, the lower your IQ is, the better you are at this class. That's just how hunters work, okay? And sure, it might not be very good for raid mechanics, but what it does mean I can do is I can walk up to a boss and press my auto shot key, and then go AFK. Which is all you really need to do, but we're doing all this extra fancy stuff just for fun. It seems that Blaumu is also on her second shield wall, so we'll withdraw and head directly to Zeliek once again, who, goodness gracious, he's now putting up his first shield wall. Well, due to the nature of this fight and how we approach it, Zeliek is always the last one standing, and there's nothing that we can really do at the moment. Blaumu has moved out of position, so we're moving closer to Zeliek, which means that we're also in range to be chained. Blaumu's mark right there did kill a couple of people, but we're okay because we moved further away from her. Unfortunately, that doesn't really help us with our DPSing during shield wall situation, and we've got to withdraw even though shield wall just fell off. Oh, it looks like Zeliek is also moving out of position, but that was recovered much faster, and didn't cause anyone significant pain or trouble. Anyway, we can't stick around, so we're gonna head off to the safe spot once again, and not die. We're not gonna kill ourselves today. This zigzaggy path had no point to it. I actually moved closer to Blaumu there, which was risky, but we turned out okay. If you can, try to head in a straight line back to the safe spot or wherever you need to go in this fight. You do move the quickest in straight lines, it's not quite like Doom. Anyway, in case you haven't noticed, the other 2 horsemen are dead, and now only Zeliek remains. He is on his second shield wall at the moment, now that he's below 20% HP, and since we have all these marks, we can't go in just yet. We might not have the opportunity to go in safely before the end of the fight. Shield wall has just dropped off, and if we don't get the chance to go in safely, then we'll go in unsafely, just to contribute the tiniest bit more before the end of the fight. We're just going to wait for him to get a little bit lower, and let's go. Our burst cooldowns are up too, so we'll pop Jomgabar and Rapid Fire immediately, initiate a burst combo, and we may not even be marked. We were not even marked. Totally safe. The most important part of this fight is controlling the Four Horsemen and keeping them in their separate corners so that the marks don't kill anyone, which can be kind of hard to do if the tanks drop dead like they did here. I had aggro, so I popped turrets and moved in, rather than pop Feign Death and risk him running off to the safe spot. We've popped another Greater Shadow Protection Potion to be safe, and we make it out of there alive. And on this kill, we've started on Zeliek, but my pet is still at the safe spot. This was the buffed run from earlier. I mouse over pet attack on Blaumu, but on my way over there, I kind of forget that my pet is still on Blaumu and has been stacking marks. Because he's been left here, he drops dead to the next mark, and you can't forget about that. You gotta send the pet back when it's time. Here's one more clip of the Four Horsemen. We know exactly how much damage each mark deals, and we can survive with exactly this much HP. That's why I stopped my bandage at the time that I did. And we were able to stay in for a moment longer to help kill that horseman. Moving on, we're headed to the spider wing last, the last wing that needs doing. There is less trash between the start of Spider Wing and the first boss, Anub'Rekhan, than any other wing in Naxx, including Plague Wing actually. But there is more trash between the first boss and the second boss, Faerlina, and yet more between Faerlina and Maexxna. And it certainly doesn't help that at this stage my guild likes to clear extra packs that are skipped these days. Like this pack on the right here, which is entirely avoidable if we cling to the left. This is also an old style of pulling these things. My guild currently likes to charge into the packs and simply keep hunters at range to bait the poison charge from that green spider around the corner, which we'll see in a moment, but as this pull is done in this run, we pulled this entire pack around the corner and tanked the green spider out of Los. Running in on them is more fun, and also less risky because those brown spiders can yank you with their death grip-like attack. Although it's a bit dangerous to stand in melee due to the frontal cone AoE nature damage cleave the brown spiders have. It's nothing a nature protection potion can't deter, and also the packs are ripe for Bladestorms, so by all means, cleave away and have fun. And this proc right here was early, by the way. I never put my multi on CD or used an explosive trap before it procced, but I did pop off a sapper. The first boss of Spiderwing is Anub'Rekhan. Yep, we're already here, but don't worry, there will be plenty more trash after this. First, we've got to clear out these ads, which is made easy by blowing our burst immediately, and then we just got to spread out around the boss so the impale is less likely to hit more people, and as soon as he starts casting his locust swarm, the tank is going to pop that swiftness potion I traded at the start of the fight, and run along the side of the room while another ad spawns, and we take that one out. The interesting mechanic to this fight, the one that can really snowball a wipe, is that any dead units in the room, including both the ads that are our enemies on this fight and any dead players, can be used to spawn corpse scarabs. So the more corpses there are, the more corpse scarabs will show up, which can quickly mean a raid wipe if anyone dies. Fortunately, Anub'Rekhan is not very dangerous, and unless you're one of those squishy clothies and you have a very low HP pool, so you get knocked into the air and then die to fall damage, which is not a problem for us, or unless you stand in front of the boss and very close to him when he's using his locust swarm, there's no real risk of dying. But having a goblin saber charge ready just in case could be a good idea. And here comes the locust swarm. This means we'll be dealing with an ad that spawns in. Here's the ad. We've multi-shot it, so it's coming to us rather than sticking to the tank there. Looks like the tank is awfully close to the boss, so that locust swarm is stacking up on him, but our healers are very responsive and are able to keep him alive. Amazingly, because that locust swarm, when it stacks up, it can hit surprisingly hard. You can see his HP on the unit frame there. It's zooming and zigzagging from 0 to 100 and 0 to 100. Very good job by our healers, very good reaction. And now that the Locust Swarm has subsided, all the DPS and other raiders are running towards the boss, which is stacking everyone up. And that's not really a good thing because the Impale is more likely to hit a lot of folks when everyone's stacked up like this. I'm trying to move into to melee here, and I might have evaded that Impale if I stayed running in one direction. I did not need to pop that lip, but you could say I felt like it, and I kind of deserve to waste it for getting hit by that. I mean, maybe that Impale required a cheetah, I don't know. Oh, hello there, Bladestorm proc. You are rather useless in this situation, but I am very happy to see you. Very happy indeed. The Impale is much easier to dodge if you're already on the side of it, or if you happen to be on the move weaving, you're in a position where you're moving and can shift quickly to the side. But to be fair, the cast time is pretty quick, and you only move so fast. And speaking of quick deadly things, these brown spiders can yank you right into the room if you ping them and don't get around the corner or outrange them very quickly. In packs with multiple different kinds of spiders, I like to ping ones that are not the carrion swarmers, the brown spiders, because there will be a delay on when the brown spiders engage, and that'll give me more time to get away before they get a chance to yank me in. There isn't much of a choice on this pack, but they are in a good position for me to ping one and then retreat to safety. And I'm sorry to say, but we've run out of fun trash packs until the next boss. One of those green spiders going all the way back there is not a good thing. If that thing decides to charge into the middle of the raid, everyone gets poisoned, and the poison charge is extremely lethal. But fortunately we were able to get it back under control and into the right position. Now I've moved on and I'm going to pull this pack of skitties. I linger here and use a limited invulnerability potion instead of running back to the raid, because I want those spiders to come to that particular location before I bring them up. If I run up too soon, then they have a tendency to cling to the right and can actually pull the next pack of skitties and even the Necrostalker patrol, which would not be good. But on the plus side, I'm a liar, I'm sorry, I kind of forgot that we do these trash packs in this run. At the time that we did this run, my guild liked to clear all the way to the right before starting on the Faerlina trash. I'm not exactly sure why, but it does give us the opportunity to go ahead and have some more fun with trash before we go back to the not so fun trash and start pulling casters. Once again, these packs are ripe for Bladestorms. Or, if you want to stand in the back, the Tomb Horror AoE can be outranged, and if you stand in close range, you will be cursed with anti-healing, which is mostly just an inconvenience and not actually a threat.
Hold pull, because mana fucking sucks.
Too late.
Oh, oh that was a so bad fame.
Oh, you see how that's done? You see how it's done, by the way?
Holy shit.
If you feign before it hits, it's like guaranteed, right?
You feigned like.
Alright, Nils, go ahead and shoot. We're good. Incoming.
That was insane. That was insane. Noth the god.
Anyway, back to the not fun trash. These cultists are, well, the ones in black will knock people around like they're in a pinball machine, and the ones in red are probably the most threatening, not counting a situation where a black-robed cultist will knock you into the next room and into the aggro radius of another one of these trash packs, of course. The red ones have Shadowbolt Volley and Arcane Explosion. And then there's this skitty patrol, which patrols around the room, and could be an issue during pulls. It is possible to snag these guys after just one of these packs is dead, and do so safely, which I do right here. But it is trickier than it might look, because Blizzard scripting, sometimes they go a bit too far. There's some delay on when the rest of the pack pulls, so you need to pull it a specific way. Like I shot the front one there, and the ones lagging behind came after me when they were more in the center. As for these casters, there are two ways of pulling them that I like. But first I should remark on how my guild likes to mark them, because it's a good system, and I should pass it along. The black-robed cultists are the tanked marks, and there are only 4 of those. And the red-robed cultists are interrupt marks, and again, there are only 4 of those. Sometimes there are 5 red cultists and 3 black cultists, and sometimes vice versa. So if there are extra marks, there's just one that's left unmarked, and there's no ambiguity to the marks. Certain marks will always be reds, certain marks will always be blacks, so the tanks will always have targets to pick up, and the casters will always have targets to interrupt. It's strategic use of marks, not overuse of marks. And as for the pulling itself, we saw some pre-casting earlier, which is a fun way to do it, because you instantly eliminate a target in one of these packs. And this way is also favorable, since if you pull these ones up to the rest of the raid, the black ones reach the raid first, the red ones are lagging behind. Either way works, I have no preferences, and I think both are pretty efficient ways of chain pulling them. And if you're wondering, yes, you can actually pull the entire room and sapper it. I used to witness that in Light's Hope Naxx Raiders raids, at least some of the speedrunner guilds raids. Anyway, pardon, we've moved on to Faerlina now, so we're past the caster trash. It's just, there's so much to say about them. Faerlina's another pretty simple fight. There's a Rain of Fire, there's Poison Bolts. You can avoid the Rain of Fire very easily. You can dispel the Poison Bolts with Anti-Venom, or Elixirs of Poison Resistance. And it's very easy to rack up damage on this fight because of how many adds there are. You can ignore Widow's Embrace, it doesn't really do anything to us, as you could see. And Faerlina can be kind of tricky to weave on, due to possibly needing to move her a lot because of the Rain of Fire, if it happens to be in the melee. And it could also be on you, which would mean that you would have to move. And we're better suited to moving than any of the other ranged DPS, that's just how we roll. I could have sat in that Rain of Fire for a moment and used aim shot sooner, which would have saved me some time on the multi-shot cooldown. I do have a greater fire protection potion up at the moment, but I decided not to this time around, so my damage suffers for it, but that was my mistake for moving out of the fire. It's not like the raid needs my damage though, the boss is dying very easily. There's some priest mechanic that they have to worry about, something to do with mind controlling the adds and sacrificing them to the boss, but it's irrelevant to us, so let's head to Maexxna. But we're gonna skip over most of this trash because it's stuff that we've seen before. There are some more ghouls, some gargoyles, which do their acid spit, of course. We skipped the gargoyle patrol on the right this time. Grab those ghouls, and this is a Bladestorm pack, because ghouls are Bladestorm packs. So we'll enjoy this for the moment before Maexxna, because it is the final Bladestorm pack. It's the final trash pack, really, in Naxx. After Maexxna, it's Saffron and Kel'Thuzad in a row. No trash in the interim. Well, unless you count Kel'Thuzad Phase 1, but we'll get to that. For now, we're killing Maexxna, and as odd as it might seem, she's actually one of my favorite boss fights in Naxx. She has 4 mechanics that she does in a cycle. First is some poison spray, which reduces healing, but that's very easy to quickly dispel on the tank, and of course she's faced away. She knocks some people up onto the wall, and it's up to us to get them off. Third, she'll spawn some spiderlings, which need to be destroyed. And fourth, she'll stun the entire raid for 8 seconds. Now you might be thinking, hey, but if you're stunned for 8 seconds, then what's interesting about that? Well, it's an intense fight. It's a lot of damage on the tank, and each time that she does this cycle, we need to find a way to make sure that the tank stays alive through it. So it's cooldown management, and that makes it a more strategic fight than it might appear. And I enjoy a strategic fight like this. There's no real issue with RNG that would screw players over on this fight. I mean, sure, you could get one of the important healers up to the wall, but that's long enough away from the raid-wide stun for it to not be an issue. Oh, and I almost forgot, there's an enrage mechanic at 30% and lower. So holding DPS just before 30% is important for the sake of pushing it afterwards and attempting to kill the boss during the enrage, but before the next web wrap, or web spray, I should say. Oh, and Maexxna is the last place in Naxx we'll be visiting in this run, where nature protection potions will come in handy. Unless you count mind-controlled rogues with poison on KT, or shamans or druids, but that's hardly anything to pop an NPP for. It seems like it would be kind of silly. Back to Maexxna here. She's been pushed past 30%, so she is enraged right now. But we've still got to get people off the wall, because they take damage while they're in those web wraps. It's not quite like the raid-wide stun that is harmless after the initial damage, and everyone breaks out of. Despite our best efforts, it looks like we're going to get a stun at the very end anyway, but the tank has shield wall to pop, and he should be a-okay. He should live through this. And now it's about time we head on to Saffron and Kel'Thuzad, the final 2 bosses of Naxx. But first, I do want to show you some BS RNG that can occur on any boss, really.
Everybody pop a frost pot. We're not wiping the fucking Maexxna. Frost pot.
Man, I wish my next was undead.
Bradabagel just got 1 shot. That was funny as shit. Guys, slow down. Why is double tanking?
I auto attacked.
Guys, watch your threat. Dragon's tanking right now. Watch your threat, please.
I clicked off the boss. I clicked off the boss.
I don't.
Dragon, do you have it? Do you have salve on?
I clicked my aura. I shouldn't have. I don't see it.
Here we get folks off the wall at just the right time to DPS during web spray, but it's not quite enough. Things were just too chaotic.
We haven't wiped on Maexxna in 5 months. That's fucking embarrassing.
We took those.
It was the goddamn frost pots.
Seriously.
Okay, so explain to me why Dragon did not get threat go.
And here's your answer. That's 22 seconds of terrible RNG. Amazing, right? But that could happen on any boss. Sapphiron and Kel'Thuzad are more screwy RNG, which we'll see in the bonus clips after the bosses die, if not during the fights themselves. About Sapphiron. And isn't this animation that plays while we walk into the room so cool? Well, he's not quite like Loatheb. Sure, consumes are really important for making it through the fight, and what few mechanics there are also important. But what differs, at least for most guilds, is the necessity of resistance gear. You can't just blow greater frost protection potions and throw bodies at the boss. The raiders need to know the mechanics, and if you aren't one of those crazy speedrunner guilds, then you also need to have raided Naxx for a few and racked up some frost resistance gear. And what are those mechanics? Simple. It's a dragon, so don't stand in front of it or behind it. It also has an air phase. During the ground phase, you stay away from the little blizzard clouds that chain around the room, and make sure your decurses go out lightning fast. Air phase, which only occurs if the boss is above 10% HP, you all spread out to reduce the damage from Ice Bolt, top everyone off so Ice Bolt doesn't one-shot anybody, and run behind the people who are Ice Bolted after the 5th one goes out, so you're out of los of that Frost Bomb Sapphiron drops. Rinse and repeat. People need to last through the sustained damage and survive whatever burst damage threatens them. I find that the Ice Bolts and Curses stay the biggest problem for the longest time, so having a focus on calling out the Dispels and timing the use of Frost Protection Potions for the start of Air Phase, if possible, could wind up saving lives. There are a lot of guilds that like to leave Naxx Rammus after the first 13 of 15 bosses, or at least they did when Chronoboons weren't a thing, and rebuff Heart and Head for Saf and KT, which I think is kinda weird because of all the aforementioned RNG. It's perfectly simple to defeat either boss without buffs, and probably preferable, because buffs are not going to help you if shenanigans are afoot. This particular Saf kill had a lot of deaths near the end, but nowadays we kill him with less frost resistance gear on and with no deaths or buffs. That's partially due to gear gained through raiding Naxx, and partially due to experience and people performing the mechanics better. And we started using Amplify Magic, which seems to help our healers last through the whole fight without any buffs. Very useful. That said, if you do have buffs and no shenanigans like all the Ice Bolts landing in terrible spots for most of the raid to get to, this fight is made much easier by them, because for some reason, despite having some fairly difficult mechanics for the average raid to last through, Sapphiron is also one of the hardest hitting bosses in the game in Melee, so the buffs on the tank are super powerful. Anyway, I should mention during this fight that Sapphiron is the boss that killed my last guild. You know, besides Blizzard releasing Shadowlands around the same time, which made keeping attendance high really difficult. Seriously, did they do that on purpose? Do they have any idea how difficult they made things for so many guilds? Not just my own, but several of my friends? But back to the subject at hand. I'll say I'm very proud of Midnight for annihilating the first 13 bosses in Naxx. The last 13 bosses we killed throughout this episode so far, in a single raid night. Despite most of Midnight being new to vanilla Naxx. That was a fantastic final raid for Midnight, and I'm proud of them. And I'm happy to have moved on to another guild that I'm happy with and proud of. The mistake was cracking open the guild bank and attempting to power through Sapphiron without dry runs to understand the mechanics and, if it became necessary, another week or two of Naxx to scrounge up more frozen runes and frost resistance gear. No one learned anything, and the constant use of consumables had a demoralizing effect on the guild. Naxx does make it easy to gather the stuff over time, and I know everyone wants to head on to the final boss right away, but sometimes you've just got to take into account your guild's needs and what will work out best for your guild. Yennik religiously studies the logs and determines little changes to make every time to speed things up a bit, or make things more efficient, and I hope you'll pardon me for making the mistake up to this point. He's not the guildmaster, only the raid leader, and the officer corps of Arlo works as a team. Praetora is the guildmaster, and Gentlestrike, a rogue who will be playing Shadow Priest in TBC, frequently attended Midnight's alt raids. We had connections before a bunch of us came over, and it didn't really occur to me until now. Yet, despite the inclination towards improvement, RLO is not an elitist guild, and I find myself on the same wavelength, so I'm very happy to be here, and I'm happy to have finished Naxx with this lovely group of folks. And I'm looking forward to more fun in TBC too. But more on TBC later. We've got to wrap up this fight. As it stands, we've got 1, maybe 2 more air phases to get through. If you didn't notice, earlier I sat down to drink, but another hunter sat far behind me, and was fine. The Frost Bomb won't one-shot you if you're out of los, and that means you can be all the way back behind an ice block. Why didn't I do the same thing? Well, my perception is a tad skewed. so I prefer to sit right up against the ice block so I know I'm as safe as possible. It's difficult to be one-shot by something silly if I don't give myself the opportunity to be stupid and wrong. That won't stop me from being stupid and doing what some might consider wrong near the end of this fight though. As I said, this was the first raid night when we cleared all of Naxx in one night. It demanded not coming back on Sunday, and therefore doing Sapphiron and Kel'Thuzad without any world buffs. The whole guild worked very hard to breach that milestone for the very first time tonight. An incredible group effort of massive proportions. So how do I try my damnedest to fuck it up? I just can't resist the opportunity to teabag a dead friend. I'll be quiet for a minute so we can hear the raid comms as we near the end of the fight.
I need anything you got, guys. I need frost pots. I need whatever you got.
Is he going back up?
Yeah, he's probably going back up. Oh, wreck here, wreck here. Wreck, execute, everything. We have to keep him on the ground. We have to keep him on the ground. Every cooldown you got, guys, fucking blow it. Every cooldown you got. Fucking blow it. We have to keep him on the ground. Non-use a cooldown. Decurse, non-use cooldown.
Yes, decurse.
I got 1 minute till life isn't good.
Gramicles, can you put up?
Can't have this. We can't have this air phase. You guys have to. You have to hurt him. He should stay down unless Non dies. All right, heals on Non and we win. Keep damaging. Decurse. We're losing people. Decurse. Execute everything you got. Everything you got.
For you.
Everything you got, guys. Keep Non up. Keep Non up. Keep Non up.
30 seconds and I can use left Indian.
Okay.
Non, I gave you
All damage on the boss.
Best I could do.
There were no heals.
I hit him. There's no mana on the raid.
There's no mana on the raid, and there's no one alive.
I came up.
Get ready to decurse, or he'll heal. Saffron will heal if you don't decurse. Decurse those people, or he'll heal. He will heal. He will heal. Decurse them. Decurse them. Decurse them. Decurse them. On the boss. All damage on the boss now. Decurses are off. He should drop. Nice.
Oh,
Legendary.
I misclicked. I misclicked at the end, and I clicked a fucking nature potion instead of a fucking frozen potion. And I was gonna stress out.
So that was fun, and it's consistently gotten cleaner on each attempt since then. I think our LO is very strong mechanically. That's the most important area to improve upon. Oh, right here is one of those BS RNG occurrences. I've got buffs at the moment, you can see them up at the top. This was at one of those times we had to come back. And they're not really helpful for your survival in this case. I mean, there's the Zandalar speed component and the swiftness Sansa. In this sort of scenario, the most important factor is that the players are mindful and observant. That's the only way your raid pulls through to kill the boss in this sort of case. And it happens more often than you might think. We'll see a couple of funny things on KT, and I'll cover some crappy RNG possibilities on him too. But first, I have a quick little compilation of Sapphiron progression memes for you. Enjoy!
I'm in danger!
Help me!
No!
What the hell is this?
Do it! Do it! Come on! Kill me! I'm here! Come on! Do it now! Kill me!
I need healing.
Boom.
Oh shit.
Yeah, we've now. Oh, he's hearthing?
He's trying to hurt.
He's leaving?
Bubble hurting?
Get it too. That's hilarious. Damage on this boss.
Oh, he's gonna die. He had a life drain.
Oh, he died. Yeah, it batched on him as he got out.
Wait, he died in Stormwind?
He had the life drain on him.
Oh, come on, man.
The final boss of the night, and of Official Classic, is Kel'Thuzad. And you know, there's some other stuff I want to talk about, so I'll explain his mechanics really quickly, and then move on, because we're nearing the end of this episode, and there's only so much time to get this out. In Phase 1, the skeletons blow up if they reach the raid. They're our main targets, and we can use frost traps to almost completely immunize the raid against skeleton attacks from certain angles. I find it's easiest to get the frost traps triggered by attempting to drop them on the abominations while they're in melee. Keep an eye out, there are plenty of opportunities for multi-shot during Phase 1 KT, but they're not really that much urgency to use it, so they're mostly for style points. But you can optimize by seizing those opportunities. Iron grenades are nice for the skeletons. You can also concussive shot or scattershot them to keep them from getting too close to their target. The Abomination's first hit is always very hard, and after that, they're not so bad. The melee handle them, and as I just said, they're good to try to drop traps under when they're already in position. Can't really expect the tanks to be looking for nearby traps you've already laid to drag their mobs into. Let the casters handle the banshees. They're much like the skeletons in that they cause serious damage if they get close to the raid. This nonsense goes on for 5 minutes and then it's on to phase 2. We clean up the leftover trash, then attack KT. About phase 2, KT sometimes mind controls 5 people and drops threat. That's one of his most threatening mechanics. Be ready to scattershot somebody and help get the MC'd folks under control, because they can quickly kill one of your raiders. Iron grenades are, again, a useful consumable for this mechanic. His Frost Tomb is the other really big threat. It chains the nearby people, which is why everyone is spread out, and the melee are grouped up in such a specific way, using the 4 points of KT's robe as an indicator of where they should stand, so the amount of melee hit by the attack, if it goes out on them, is minimized. There are some other mechanics, like Frostbolt Volley, Mana Burn Bomb, some Void Zone on the ground that one-shots you if you stand in it as it activates, but those 2 first mechanics I named, the MC and the Frost thing, those kill people the most often in my experience. It's up to the DPS to CC the MCs, and the healers to react to our Frost-entombed friends. And be wary of using multi-shot when MCs are out. The goal in Phase 2 is to make it to Phase 3 without any deaths, and then nuke KT as hard as possible, because if Phase 3 lasts very long, it quickly becomes very chaotic and difficult to handle everything going on. It helps to wait for an MC just before KT hits 40%. After 40%, 5 adds come into the room while KT continues to do everything he did during Phase 2. 3 adds can be CC'd, 2 must be tanked. If there are no shackled targets near KT, or if the 2 tanked targets are closer, you can multi-shot during this phase. That's it. I hope you enjoy this fight. I'm going to change subjects now. I love this game. I think it's fun, I like the world, I like the lore, and I love making friends on WoW. I've made so many wonderful friends here on Herod during Official Classic. Made so many memories. All of my complaints, if you haven't noticed, have had to do with things beyond the game itself, things outside the game, like how its phases of content release were handled. Not the content itself, but the timing, for instance, of releasing that content. I've always loved the Classic community on P servers, and it continues to be a joy to finally have an official channel through which Classic exists. Regardless of my complaints, that fact remains. And the new Classic community had started different, but it gravitated in a similar direction. The Alliance and the Horde naturally come to hate each other because you put them both in the same room and give them something to fight over. World buffs, important open world gold farms, and just how things are open world in general. There's no flying, you can't run away from a fight so easily in Classic, so troublemakers are more prevalent, and therefore the efforts to thwart them, and bonding together to do so, are just as well. Rockbow, who you may have met around the Ravager Den Discord server, actually knew of me before I joined Midnight. He'd seen some of my videos, my really old ones, and we got to make new memories together here in Vanilla. And it's been quite the journey, hasn't it? 57 episodes and I haven't done quite as much as I hoped, but that's always how it is, isn't it? There's always more to do. And looking back, so much of it was in the open world, adventuring with others. We had our good times, like that underleveled Simone kill at the beginning of episode 45. That was a fun and interesting kiter on the lake in Ungoro, and I made a new friend at the same time, that hunter I was able to help with his Roke Delar quest. We had our bad times too, like how during the RFD episode 26, I went over the top whining to my group. You know, sometimes I just get in the sort of nitpicky mood where I run my mouth about stuff that doesn't really matter. And it didn't to me at the time, but I played it up for sure. And I realized after the fact how that might rub my group the wrong way, because as much as my guild likes my personality, strangers, it's hit or miss. And we had some moments that were a bit of both, like how in episode 21 I defeated that skull-level warrior while simultaneously stating and making stupid and glaring errors, because my squirrel brain is like, oh, he's tough, he must be 60, but he was actually 48 according to a Horde friend I asked after the fact, and how I walked right into intercept range to try to use a net launcher when the obvious and safer option is to just stay the hell away. Good times one and all, I say. This might not be the last episode in my Classic Hunter series. I have some other fun runs I could put out sometime down the line. It's only the last episode before Classic TBC comes out. Speaking of, we'll have a bunch of new hunters joining us for TBC very soon. Hunters apparently become rather strong as a DPS class in TBC, so there will be a bunch of folks who googled best class for the expansion and re-rolled. I'm rather new to TBC myself, it's the only expansion I haven't really played, so I'll be learning too. Now listen up, this is actually important. Elitism has been alive and well in Official Classic, and it happens to be another one of those factors outside the game itself that's corrupted it somewhat. Everyone's in a rush, everyone's obsessed over the meters, and I would like very much to perpetuate a positive and optimistic atmosphere. Consider this my request to you. We hunters are in a wonderful position to do that, as we were not a class preferable in great prevalence in vanilla, and given enough effort or ingenuity, we could be remarkably useful and powerful in vanilla, whether anyone expected it of us or not, and it will be expected of us going into TBC. The esprit de corps, the bonds we established in vanilla are how we uplifted ourselves and our fellow raiders, be that in efficiency or amusement. In TBC, this camaraderie will be key to introducing our new friends to the class, and helping them have fun as we have. I'll clarify right now, I'll remind you, my request doesn't mean we don't strive for improvement in all things. That's critical to anyone in anything, especially since we're playing the game with other people, and there are certain things that are expected of us in certain environments. All I'm saying is that in our pursuit of more deeply refined technique, we should demonstrate to our new arrivals the pride and joy with which we play this particular class. It can be very easy to get lost in all the numbers and eking out every possible digit. It's a game, have fun! Name your pet, meme around. It was easier to do in vanilla, but even as we hold the responsibility of pumping hard in TBC, for the sake of getting our raid through every boss in a timely manner, or getting our raid through every boss period, we must maintain the same mindset that brought us together in the first place. And for those friends of mine who don't play the game but follow the series anyway, I want you to try to improve yourself however you deem fit in your real life, because this world could use some positivity too, and some sanity. I'm not entirely certain I'm suited to propagating the latter, but the former, I can vomit out rainbows all day. You'd better believe it. Anyway, I don't know when the next episode will come out. I could barely play during the pre-patch as much as I wanted to. All I had time to do was fix my UI up a bit and get a Dragonhawk up to 60, because I like them. I think they'll be fun for dungeon cleaving from 60 to 70. You know what axe I'll be using too. It was a struggle to get this final episode out. I'm barely finishing this the day before TBC drops, and I have to apologize to my MVPs, Fubunny, Safak, Sundas, Skyda, Wyvern, Dice Jr., and Tech8, Cavorg. I know y'all are supposed to get a sneak peek, and you did in some of the little clips that I passed through Dice, but things have just been way too hectic to get the full episode out any sooner. I'll see what I can do for TBC. So, here's what happens now. First, we check out the rest of this kill. Then we laugh at Non-Helema getting let out of MC in a Void Zone. We hug ZV out of an Ice Tomb. We pop Iris with a full combo during Phase 3. We check out some Phase 1 multi-shot examples. We check out a funny ending to a KT when only the Hunters were up. And then, just because I can't end the episode without some serious memery, and because I need to get it to exactly 2 hours for the hell of it, we check out a bit of the Paladin Epic Mount quest in Skullomance, which a whole bunch of my Horde friends are going through right now, or will be going through very soon for themselves or their Blood Elf Paladin friends.
I'm so sorry, ZV. I'm so sorry.
I feared you.
And all this means I give you my goodbyes right now and leave you to enjoy the rest of the episode. I hope you all have a beautiful day, or night, or whatever time it is. See you, ... on the other side. Or, you know, on the Discord linked in the description. I hang around there really often between episodes. Anyway, bye.
If you need a Mac.
Yeah, please get the interface out.
Thanks for the bop tea.
Heal blue.
Guys, nuke it. If you have a cooldown, please use it. Priest, get ready to shackle. If you have a cooldown, please use it.
Going on.
Straighten up.
Readjust. Potato.
Guys, use a frostbite if needed. Yannick's got this. It's a condom. Condom is out. I got it. Where's the next one?
Dragon Fist, if you want to rotate to...
who's got that? No, Carlorn's got it. Who's next? Use a frostbite if you got it. Who's next? I need a priest to get this. It's a moon. I need a priest to get moon. Priest to get moon. Thank you. Any available tank can grab this next one, please.
Melee, you need to adjust.
Blue Dini, go get it. You might have to go get it. Okay, Dragon, because you're going to have to go on the boss Dragon. This is going to be hard for you. So when it MCs, you have to go on the boss Dragon because there's only 2 people left.
Group A,
move. Tighten up.
Group A, move.
Not yet, Dragon, not yet. Only when it switches. Keep shackling those targets. Guys, nuke everything you got. We're going to get a nasty MC in a second. If you have a frostbite, please use it. Alright, next person up. I need to keep damage on the boss because this is going to get messy.
Heal blue.
If he's
Keep
tanking,
kicking. Yep, keep damage on the boss. It's going to get messy.
Dragon has it.
Keep CCing those shackles, priests. Keep CCing those shackles. Keep dragon alive. Dragon, use a cooldown as you need it. Thank you. Good job. All damage on the boss. Everyone's looking at the boss right now. You're putting damage on him. I'm out of mana. I'm reshackling it. Sorry, Carlin. I got you. That's me. I got it.
Focus your positions.
Reshackle. We got one shackle loose. Heal hyper. Keep dragging up. Keep dragging up.
I have a garden
Keep blue up. Keep blue up. Range 11. Don't forget about it. If you have a frost pot, use it. If you have a major mana, use it.
You're not a tank, bandage.
That should be the last frost volley of the fight. Let's go. Get one more shackle off. DPS it before the next. Okay, that's fine.
Running free.
We got enough damage. DPS it. DPS it. All damage on the boss. All damage on the boss.
Just Agamemnon. That's all.
Evasion tank it.
Come on.
I always die when fucking
easy.
Clean as fuck. That was my only death of the night. Just
This thing never might have been still. Yes. Round of applause for Might have been.
Oh, Might have Menethil. Look at that thing is awesome.
Lose four people. Guys, we lost fucking 4 people and still killed it without World Bus. This guild is fucking great. Good job, everyone. You can enjoy the week. This is amazing. Yeah, we're gonna run in circles. I hope you all fucking PvP spec and kill some fucking horde.
That was the only death of the night. Damn it. I tried so hard to be clean.
I have to yell for you, homie.
I crit and eviscerate like a half a
Yeah,
second
saw
after
that.
MC, and I was like, no.
There it is. Stun them. CC them. CC them.
Thank you.
Remember, guys, you can
I'm
cheat.
trying to reposition them. I'm trying to
You can
reposition
hear.
them.
You can do anything.
There we go.
Rainbow's free casting on people. Thank you for CCing her.
Stunned her.
Did
Get out of the
Non's down. Double, you're the main tank. Oh, battle res on Non. Oh, no, you should have a DPS the bitch. Let me re-grab that, people. I got it for you. All right, all cooldowns, just DPS the bitch. Don't worry about the mind control. Just keep going. It's fine. Just keep going. Just keep going. Boss is dead.
It's on Bride. Dragon.
This one's dragon.
Enemy spotted. Target acquired.
You thought.
All right, good recovery, everyone.
Not a bad evening. Grats on whatever we just got. That's amazing.
King's Fall.
Lots of skills behind the
A lot of skeletons up right now, guys.
Yep,
heavy skills.
A lot of cooldowns, guys. Boss.
Dispel
Gotta
precursor.
kick. Still gotta kick him. Nukes on the boss, guys.
Oh, I got back to my spot. You guys only have like one tier left.
Hunters.
Very little opportunity left. Nuke the boss
We are nuking the boss. Everyone's nuking the boss. Dodge that, Non. Non, use any cooldown. More damage on the boss.
Hunters like you never did.
If the problem is I
Get
can't
your pots. Whatever you can do.
You come on, Hibby.
Execute. Go. Go quad. Go quad. Go quad. Execute. Execute. Non, execute. Execute it. Go quad. Go quad.
Oh my god.
Don't you die now. Don't you die.
Come on.
Oh my god.
Here we go.
Oh, go Hunters, go.
Oh my
Go, Hunters, go.
Full health, let's go.
Insanity.
Got like
Like
5
a
minutes
pro-
in a row at the end.
Was that even?
Please do not loot.
Pro guild, pro guild right now.
All right, run back. Run back.
No.
Not
Yeah,
hunters.
don't loot. It's group loot. Don't loot.
Danger!
I'm dead.
Look at this dude. Wait till you see the. No.
Bye, have a great time.
Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Another another one. Don't fucking run away from me! I'm going to rape you!